All right, so in this session, I want to talk about the science of faith. Faith often is presented as, in a way, willful ignorance, the ability to hope for something that doesn't exist and maintain tenacity in your expectation. This is the way most of us were somewhat taught faith is don't give up even when there's nothing to have hope in. Faith is really the same thing as magic, which is the ability to take that which is unseen or simply unmanifested and bring it into manifestation, or call the unseen into the seen. This is why the Bible references, it says, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Faith is, again, one of the four attributes of the mind. I talked about honor. Well, faith is one of the others. Faith deals with your ability to connect with the unseen, to bring the unseen into the seen, the invisible into the visible, the unmanifest into the manifest. And it's your own ability, which is your grounding within future possibilities. So I want to emphasize that faith is not you attaching your hope and expectation to something that does not exist. Faith, in actuality, is being able to tap into something that is not yet and calling it into manifestation now. Closing the distance, which in itself is an act of intercession between what can be and what is. It's a science. So that's one of the things that people have often lost when it came down to the supernatural, especially within Christianity. When we're thinking of the concept of faith, they're thinking about if they gave up, how long they prayed, how much they begged. And that doesn't really have anything to do with faith. That's hope, that's tenacity, that's resilience. But honestly, it has nothing to do with faith. You can't have faith in something that doesn't exist, that you yourself don't have any connection to. I often equate faith to walking down the stairs in the dark. You know that the stairs exist even if you cannot see them. Faith is not taking a step off of a roof where there are no steps or no ladder. You're not doing something hoping that things turn out right, where you're tapping into something, you're engaging with something, you're using something that other people simply might not be able to see, but you can. So faith is really the law of the visionary. This is what happens when you see a possible outcome, but the world around you might not be able to see this possible outcome. This thing that could change the way that y'all live for the better. The one who comes up with the creative ideas, that might be you. Everyone else cannot see it, but you have the vision for it. At that moment, you now have a reason to have faith. This is what faith actually is. You've seen it. You've engaged it. You've gotten into the energetic field of that thing. You can feel it. Your emotions are starting to get involved in it. And it's at that point you begin to draw it into manifestation. All it takes is one person to keep the vision. But vision first has to be had. Vision has to be had. So no, it's impossible to have faith in something you cannot see. As in, you have to see it before it makes itself manifest. Not just expect it, because that's often where the breakdown happens. When it comes down to the science of creation, we were typically taught, when it came to prayer, to pray inside out, backwards, and contradicting. In fact, one of the things I tell people about praying for the sick is that a lot of us, especially if you grew up in church or especially down in the South, a common way that people prayed is the reason why people didn't get healed. It's super common where they'd say, oh Lord, if it be your will, heal this person. And if not, give us the strength to move on. But Lord, let not our will be done, but your will be done. Those type of prayers, as humble as they might sound, are actually some of the one of the most faithless things you can utter, because it's birthed out of confusion and desperation. It's not connected to a future outcome. And in a way, it's already preparing for failure by saying, if this doesn't work, just give us the strength. So that way, when this person dies in the hospital that I came to pray for, I can say that God's will was done, because that was a part of my prayer. Remember, in reality, the outcome that they saw was this person's in the hospital. They're likely going to die. I would like for them to be healed, but I don't see that happening. So let's just start grieving early, is what a lot of prayer turned into. Now notice the contradiction. We ask that you heal, but if not, give us the strength. This is a part of the conflict. Most of us, when praying verbally like that, I don't really pray that way these days, have a conflict within the mind where we don't actually know what we want, so we don't end up manifesting anything. We don't actually end up creating anything. The amount of times people come to me for prayer and I'm like, hey, what do you need? And they're like, I don't know, just anything, just prayer, whatever, I don't know. Reminds me of a Kenneth Hagin quote. He said people often come to him in the prayer lines and he's like, what do you want prayer for? And they say nothing in particular. He said, that's what you finna get, nothing in particular. Somehow we got tricked by religion into thinking that having wants and having desires and having a will was a bad thing. So they think it's a greater level of surrender to the divine to be desireless. Oh, not my will, but your will. Well, what is his will? What is God's will? And they don't know. Which means whatever happens, I will accept as God's will, which is not the same as God's will. Which actually leads to the reason why many people turned atheists, funny enough, was due to Christian doctrine telling them that horrible things was God's will. Trying to explain away rape and molestation and child abuse is saying, oh, that was God moving in mysterious ways, didn't have the intended effect. So I want to emphasize that faith actually connects you to something in the future. And it then becomes your ability to bridge the path between what is not yet and now. Is your job to bridge that gap. What can be and what is. Infinite possibilities. This gets into the multiverse theory. But that's kind of what faith is. You peer into another world, you see another possibility of how things can be, and then you pour your energy into it and you begin to attract that thing. By focus, by intent, by impartation, you begin to learn that thing. You get into the flow of that thing. You are a radio after all. Consider every future possibility a radio station, and you yourself are the radio. All you have to do is get into the energetic flow of that thing, and your path will direct you to it or it to you. Some things take longer than others to manifest. We're not actually responsible for the manifestation. We're responsible for the bridge. It'll get here when it gets here. Kind of like childbirth. It'll get here when it gets here. It takes about 9 months. Some come a little early, some a little late, but it'll show up. It's not tomorrow. Typically, you don't plant the seed and eat the fruit in the same day. There are some things that are a bit quicker, and that actually is an evolution of faith. It's not the ability to maintain hope without manifestation. It's the ability to maintain vision without the vision. Very different. Because again, you don't necessarily have to have vision to have hope. Which means a lot of hope, which is actually what we've been conditioned to see faith as, has been worthless. It's been us setting ourselves up for failure, setting ourselves up for disappointment, How come I pray and nothing happens? Well, what were you expecting? I don't know. That is why nothing happened. That's what it is. So you have to have vision in order to create. It's not just making a greater demand in the spirit and having a deeper expectation for God to come through. It's not really about God coming through. God is in you. You are God. You are filled with everything that you need. You actually already have it. That alone just speaks to the magnitude of what you carry. Your ability to bridge that gap comes through the clarity of the soul. Your ability to see into that innermost place where all things exist and intentionally call out the things that you desire or the things that are necessary. So I'd say this: faith and magic are the same thing. Most of what we called faith wasn't faith. It was hope. It was expectancy. It was diligence. It was tenacity. If it's not connected to a vision, if it's not connected to something that exists, it's just not here yet. One of the best processes for faith is ordering a pizza. You go online or you call a number and you order your pizza from whatever restaurant you order pizza from. And because you've placed your order, you now have legitimacy behind waiting for a pizza to arrive at your door. So when it gets there, well, you just designed it on the website. You just told them what they wanted. You get what you designed. It would be madness to sit at home having not ordered anything and just say, I can't wait for the pizza to get here. That's delusional. And that is most of our prayer lives. That is how most of us were taught to pray. That is how most of us were taught the supernatural. Oh, just believe. Don't worry, the pizza will come. When God's ready, a pizza will appear at your door. It's like, no, there's an unseen science of placing your order and then having an expectation because the order has been placed. Childbirth. There was a conception. Therefore, a birth can be expected. So I'll leave y'all with that. So I'll leave y'all with that. Mentorship is available. 13-week mentorship course is available on the website schooloftheempire.com. Links in the description down below. Also, Patreon is available. I have a much longer session where I've talked about all the different faculties of the mind in great detail. So if you're interested in any of that, just sign up. Links in the description down below. Also, there's a sale for the mentorship course if you sign up before September 1st. Until next time, y'all be blessed.